Hi, I've received these through the post the other day and I thought it might be worth doing a video just to show you what's inside. This is the Lord of the Rings living card game from a company called Fantasy Flight, and the magazine is published by a company called Hachette Partworks. So what I've been sent are 4 issues as part of a trial run just to see if they can gain interest before they decide to publish it fully. So what that means is if there isn't enough interest, then I think what they'll do is they'll just keep it as these 4 issues and they won't publish anymore. Okay, so here we have issue 1. I'll just move the cards out of the way as well, just to make some space, save me knocking them everywhere. We'll have a look at those later. So yeah, here before we look at the magazine, underneath here we've got a cover sheet which just tells you a bit about what the subscription actually is. So inside sheet 1 here we've got, it tells you that you'd get over 1200 cards to collect with some bumper decks, game tokens which are pretty standard, and a few special cards. Now I don't know whether these cards that it talks about are actually exclusive to this magazine or not, but there is maybe a little bit of a clue on the next page. So here we've got issues 1 to 4 that have just been sent through, and just gives you a quick overview of what's inside. This is just telling you what's inside this issue. And then here, as you can see, it says new and exclusive card artworks. So I don't know whether there's any plans to actually release some alternative art cards, which would be quite nice. And then just on the back here you can see that this is what you'd get as part of the full subscription if they decide to publish it. So you get the binder, the deck box, and then finally the playmat, which all look quite nice actually. It'd be quite good to have an official binder to store things. And then, as I say, it says coming in issue 2. It says only $3.99, but I got a covering letter with the issues that I received, and I think I'd maybe only paid for issue 1, and they've sent through issues 2 to 4 for free, so it's quite nice of them. So here we are, we have the magazine itself. Well, it's not quite a magazine in that down this edge here it's not a folded piece of paper, it's actually just lightly glued. So the idea being that you've got your 2 hole punches here. I think when you get your binder you'll end up separating all these sheets out and putting them in, so that once you've done, you've got, say, a 60 issue binder full of information about the game basically and all the adventures. So yeah, just looking on the front, this is the Black Riders saga. I think it has some of the cards from the Black Riders expansion from Fantasy Flight, and it just covers the story of the Hobbits travelling from the Shire to Bree and a little bit beyond that, I think. And then just as it says here, you've got 60 cards which come in 2 decks. And just a look inside sheet 1, you've just got the contents and then a bit about the backstory of Lord of the Rings. And then you've got just a bit of information on the characters. So here gives you a clue as to how this first issue is going to play out. Basically it tells you not to shuffle any of the cards, and we'll have a look at that later, in that they're all specially numbered, much like what you get in a normal expansion, but these ones are just set out in a way where you'll be drawing them in a certain order to make it easier for the magazine to explain the rules. And here we've got also a golden rule as well, which says don't worry if you don't know all the rules that are on the cards, which, as you'll see, there isn't any combat phase in this. It's all just basically focusing on exhaustion and exhausting cards, and also committing to quests and just playing cards and spending resources. And then you've got the setting up bit, which you set up pretty much the same as what you do in the main game. And then it says about cutting out the counters. Now I've seen a few people ask questions about that, and that's just, I think if you were to pick this up in the shops, it comes on a backboard with some counters on it, and that just means you've just got to cut those out for your first issue. Now fortunately for me, even though I didn't get the piece of card that would have come with it, it turns out that in the later issues you do get some proper tokens anyway, which is nice, just as a cheap way of adding to the amount that you get. So once you've set everything up, we'll just have a look at sheet 2, next page. So here we have the first adventure. It tells you the rules about the different spheres in terms of the resources that are gained for each hero and how you play cards from your hand. And because it asks you to draw 3 cards, it knows which cards you're going to be drawing if you haven't shuffled them, and that just helps with playing then. So it tells you which cards to play and when for this bit of a story. And then here it says about ready and exhausting, which is a fairly key mechanic, and then also the willpower and the threat and what that means as part of the game. So it means that you need to gain more willpower than the threat that's in the staging area for you to make progress. And then once you've played through this, you get your 3 progress made on this scenario here. And then it's actually just to move on to the next bit. So from here on now we're into the Green Hill country, part of the adventure. And we've got the same thing again, so we've got 3 progress to be made, but we've also got a special rule which takes its part in here. This bit is just explaining a mechanic that's on one of the encounter deck cards called hiding, and this to me is a little bit surprising that it's not in the core set at all. So if you've just got the core set, this will be new to you as well. So yeah, this is it just explains about that, and then about overcoming the threat, and then this is what you should look like when you're at this stage in the adventure. So now once that's done, we'll move on to the next part. So now we have Ban Furlong, which is an easy 2 progress adventure. And it just teaches you about the keyword surge, which I think once you draw one of the cards, it must say it as the keyword, and you'll just play that out how it is. And then on to the final bit, it's Buckleberry Ferryway. It looks like you've got to make a lot of progress, but it explains about playing certain cards, and it all stacks up that willpower and benefit, and then just talks about the allies keyword there. So yeah, that's that. Just onto the last page. Just give you a quick, brief overview of the story. Says about you can replay it, and if you shuffle the cards, it makes it a bit more interesting, so that you can work out some of the challenges yourself. And then it just gives you a little bit about what the next adventure will be. And then, as typical for this kind of magazine, they just have a few pages dedicated to explaining key points. So here we are, which just explaining the types of cards that you've got. So for the player cards, we've got allies, attachments, and event cards. And then onto the last page, we've got the encounter cards, which just says about enemy, treachery, and location. So that's that. That's issue 1. What I'll do is I'll just get some of the cards ready, and we'll just have a quick flick through those and see how they look under the camera. So here we have the pack that has the 1 ring on top. It looks quite nice, I think. There's 2 in this that have a foil finish, so see if you can pick that up under the camera. It looks quite nice actually, I think anyway. Which is a shame that you'll probably not see this now outside of these magazines, unfortunately, unless the rumours of the talk of the revamping of the game, the main game, may include some foil finish cards. I'm not sure, but they are slightly different as well. Like the printing, they're definitely printed in a different printers, as I'll show you in a minute. So let's just flick through these quickly. So we've got sneak attack, yeah. Let's see. So here we are. So Celebrian Stone. If I just get the card that I've got as a comparison here, I'll put those down. This is one that's from my core set, and as you can probably see with the lighting, if I catch that in the light, you can see that it's got like a nice smooth matte finish, whereas the one from the core sets is probably slightly glossy, which is not a bad thing. The colours could be slightly different. It's hard to tell on camera, of course, but up close, like the quality of them looks almost identical. And then the only other thing I can can really say about them is that if I put these down, if you put these side by side, they are actually slightly shorter in width. So the ones from the core set is probably about a millimetre shorter in width, which is a bit unfortunate if you're wanting to use these use the ones from the magazines in your main deck. They will stick out unless you've got card sleeves on them, which for me I have card sleeves, so it's not too much of an issue. But yeah, the only thing that stands out is obviously the numbering in the corner. So we've got P30 there to say that this is the 30th card in that deck for when you're playing the tutorial, as it were, in the magazine. So just to show you the rest of the cards, the only other thing is that you can see as well with the quality of them, they are quite white on the edges. And then just to compare to a deck that I've got unpacked, they're not quite the same in terms of thickness as well. I think I did compare it with a stack of 30 cards. I think these are probably one card taller than a stack of cards from the normal game. But yeah, anyway, I digress. Let's just quickly flip through these. There's nothing really special to see. They're all from the main game. There's no unique cards in here apart from the foil finish. But yeah, it's just interesting to see them really. And then we've got just some encounter cards, which nice. Just the back on them there. And then we've just got the other deck, which is the foil finish of Frodo Baggins, which is it does look quite good. And then you've got your heroes, and then just the rest of them. And that's it. Yeah, you get a nice mix of cards. Interesting if you're new to this and you could maybe make up your own scenarios with it. I'm not sure. But, yeah, very good. So that was a look at issue 1. What I might do is just take on some feedback for this and do a recording for the rest of the issues in a similar way. But yeah, apart from that, yeah, cheers.